I'm going to tell you something that might change the way you see everyone around you. And I don't say that lightly. Because what if I told you that the tiredness you feel, the unexplained anxiety, the dreams you've been having at 3:33 a.m., they're not coincidences? What if I told you that the heaviness in your chest when you walk into certain rooms isn't about you being too sensitive, but actually a sign that your energy is being drained systematically, silently, spiritually? This video is not just about identifying energy vampires. It's about reclaiming your energy, your power, and your connection to your highest self before it's too late. I was once like you, giving my light freely, thinking that love meant sacrifice, that kindness meant availability. But then something happened. I began waking up every day feeling like I had run a marathon in my sleep. My thoughts were foggy, my emotions out of my control, and no matter how much I meditated or journaled, I couldn't shake the feeling that something or someone was feeding off me. And then one night, deep in the forest during a silent retreat, I met a man who didn't speak a word. He handed me a small mirror and walked away. I looked into it and realized it's not just about who you are, but who you surround yourself with. That's when everything changed. You see, energy vampires are not mythical creatures with fangs. They don't come with capes or coffins. They come as friends, lovers, co-workers, even family. They are people who, consciously or unconsciously, feed off your life force, your vitality, your essence. And it's not always out of malice. Sometimes it's out of habit. Sometimes it's because they've forgotten how to generate their own light, so they borrow yours. But that borrowing slowly becomes stealing. And if you're not careful, you won't even realize how much you've lost until you're a shell of who you used to be.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
The first sign you're surrounded by energy vampires is you feel exhausted after interacting with certain people, even if it's just a short conversation. I don't mean the normal tiredness of a long day. I mean soul-deep fatigue, where even your spirit feels like it needs a nap. You walk away from them and feel like something's missing, like your joy has been siphoned out of your chest. Have you ever had someone call you and after 5 minutes, you're emotionally drained, confused, and irritable? That's not just bad vibes. That's energetic parasitism. And the question is, how long will you keep paying that emotional tax? Another sign is that you find yourself constantly trying to fix them. These people will always have a problem, a crisis, a need. And you become the emotional janitor, cleaning up their messes. You feel responsible for their happiness, like if they're upset, it's your duty to make it right. But here's the truth, it's not compassion if it costs you your peace. It's not love if it empties you every time. Have you ever wondered, why do I always feel like the therapist, the healer, the fixer, but no one ever asks how I'm doing? Energy vampires are masters of guilt. If you try to set a boundary, they'll make you feel like you're selfish or unkind. And because you're a person of light, of spirit, of empathy, you'll question yourself. You'll wonder, am I being too harsh? Am I abandoning them? But let me remind you, boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They let love in and keep toxicity out. If someone gets angry because you are honoring your energy, that's not love. That's control. And love without respect is just manipulation dressed in poetry. One of the most subtle signs is that your intuition starts to go quiet. When you're around them, the voice of your higher self gets muffled. Your dreams become strange or disturbing. You stop trusting your gut. That's because energy vampires are loud not just with their words, but with their energetic signatures. They crowd your aura. They flood your field with their frequency until it drowns out your own. And if you've ever felt like you're losing yourself in someone else's chaos, chances are you are. You might notice that you start to feel small around them, diminished, like your light is too much, so you dim it to make them comfortable. And that's the most tragic part. The world needs your light. It needs your joy, your voice, your wild, radiant soul. But energy vampires thrive in the shadows. They don't want you to shine because your light reminds them of their own darkness. So they make you shrink, whisper, second-guess yourself. But ask yourself this: if you have to become less to be loved, is it really love? Another sign is their drama is never ending, always something chaotic, always a fire to put out. They live in a state of energetic emergency, and you're the 911 they call. But you weren't born to be someone's emotional ambulance. You were born to rise, to expand, to create. And here's the spiritual truth: if someone's chaos is always louder than your calm, you'll eventually forget what peace feels like. You'll start mistaking adrenaline for connection and dysfunction for depth. That's how they keep you hooked. And here's the final sign: you start to question your worth. Slowly, subtly, insidiously, they make you feel like you're not enough, not doing enough, not giving enough. They might even compliment you, but it always comes with a twist, a backhanded edge that makes you doubt yourself. They'll say things like, "You're so lucky," instead of "You've worked so hard." Or, "You think you're better than everyone now, huh?" And soon, you start shrinking to fit into their comfort zone instead of expanding into your destiny. So what do? How do you protect your energy in a world that constantly demands it? First, let go of the guilt. Protecting your energy is not selfish, it's sacred. You are not here to bleed for others. You are here to shine, to heal, to love, but not to be consumed. You have the right to say no. You have the right to walk away. Not every connection is a soul contract. Some are soul lessons, and once the lesson is learned, the contract expires. Choose your circle with the same intention you choose your prayers. Surround yourself with people who recharge you like the ocean, not drain you like a sinkhole. People who celebrate your growth, not resent it. People who inspire you to rise, not guilt you into staying small. Because your energy is currency, and every interaction is a transaction. The question is, are you investing in your expansion or paying interest on someone else's chaos? I want to leave you with this question, one that changed my life. Who would you be if you stopped feeding the people who never feed you back? Just sit with that. Not with anger, not with judgment, but with clarity, with reverence, with love, because you are not here to be a battery for broken systems. You are here to be a lighthouse for the lost, but not at the cost of your own flame. And sometimes, the most spiritual thing you can do is walk away. Let me take you deeper now, because once you begin recognizing the signs of energy vampires, the next truth hits even harder. Some of them are people you love. And that's where the real spiritual test begins. It's easy to walk away from a stranger or a toxic acquaintance. But what do you do when it's your best friend? Your sibling? Your mother? What do you do when the hands draining your soul are the same ones that once held you close? This is where many spiritual seekers get stuck. We think love means endurance. We think compassion means tolerating pain. But there is a higher love, a divine love that does not ask you to suffer endlessly. It asks for truth, it asks for alignment, and it asks you to remember that your soul did not come here to be buried under anyone's emotional debris. You came here to evolve, and evolution often requires elevation, rising above old patterns, even when it hurts. You may notice that the closer you get to your authentic self, the more uncomfortable energy vampires become around you. It's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because you're doing something right. Your light exposes their shadows. Your peace disrupts their chaos. And your boundaries threaten the control they once had over you. And so they lash out, not because you're bad, but because they no longer have access to the version of you that tolerated their dysfunction. And that's when the gaslighting begins. They'll say you've changed, that you've become cold, distant, fake, arrogant. But the truth is, you've become sovereign. You've stopped leaking. You've stopped apologizing for your glow. And in doing so, you've shattered the illusion they built around you. This is not cruelty. This is clarity. And clarity is the most dangerous thing you can give someone who benefits from your confusion. So let's get practical. What can you do when you realize you're surrounded by people who drain you? First, you must pause. Not react, not retaliate. You just pause. Breathe into stillness. Because most energy vampires thrive on your reactivity. But they feed off your emotional responses, your defensiveness, your guilt, your over-explaining. But silence is a power move. Silence creates a vacuum where their games can't survive. But when you stop dancing to their tune, they lose control over the rhythm of your life. Then you must assess your energetic landscape. Who do you feel tired around? Who makes you question your worth? Who only calls when they need something? Make no excuses. Just observe. You don't have to cut everyone off overnight. But awareness is the first step to freedom. And once you see clearly, you can no longer unsee. Let that vision guide your choices. Next, you have to reclaim your boundaries. And I mean real boundaries, not the ones you set and then break when someone gets upset. Boundaries that are rooted in self-respect, not fear of rejection. Boundaries are not about keeping people out. They're about keeping your energy sacred. Ask yourself, if my energy was a temple, who would I allow to worship here? Not everyone deserves access to the altar of your presence. And yes, it will be hard. You will feel selfish. You will feel guilty. You will be tempted to go back. But this is where spiritual maturity begins. This is where you graduate from being a people pleaser to being a self-honorer, from being a martyr to being a master. And the world doesn't need more martyrs. It needs more awakened souls who refuse to dim their light for anyone. Now, let's talk about something deeper. Because not all energy vampires are external. Some of them live inside you. That voice that tells you you're not good enough? That's an energy vampire. That pattern that makes you say yes when you want to say no. That's an energy vampire. That addiction to drama, to chaos, to chasing unavailable people. That's an energy vampire too. And the most dangerous ones are always the ones we've internalized. So before you go cutting people off, ask yourself, what part of me keeps attracting these dynamics? Because the outer world is always reflecting the inner. If you keep meeting people who drain you, maybe you've been taught that love looks like suffering. If you keep being the giver, maybe you've been praised for disappearing into others. And if you keep ignoring your own needs, maybe you were never shown how to honor them. Healing from energy vampires isn't just about changing your circle. It's about changing your vibration. It's about becoming so full, so whole, so rooted in your truth that you no longer magnetize leeches. You attract mirrors. You attract balance. You attract people who don't just take, but give. Who don't just need, but see you. Who don't just survive off your light, but shine with you. That's why the spiritual journey is never just about escape, it's about embodiment. You can move to the mountains, go off-grid, delete every contact in your phone. But if you haven't healed the part of you that's addicted to being needed, the pattern will follow you. Because energy vampires don't just find you, you find each other. Through wounds and through lessons, through unconscious agreements. But once you become conscious, the contract ends. You get to write new ones. Contracts that say, I will no longer betray myself to make others comfortable. Contracts that say, I choose relationships that nourish, not deplete. Contracts that say, my energy is my responsibility, and I honor it like a sacred flame. Let's go even deeper. What happens when you start enforcing these contracts? You lose people. That's inevitable. But you don't just lose people, you lose illusions. You lose roles you were never meant to play. You lose the version of you that was built on survival instead of sovereignty. And in that loss, there's grief, there's loneliness, there's an ache. But that ache is not emptiness. It's space. And space is sacred. Because in that space, the real ones show up. The ones who don't just take, but pour into you. The ones who see your no as a sign of strength, not defiance. The ones who meet you, not use you. And yes, they exist. But they only appear when your energy becomes too valuable to be wasted. When your frequency says, only truth may enter. When your aura becomes a gate, not a revolving door. And then your life begins to shift. You have more energy, more clarity, more peace. You wake up feeling alive instead of depleted. You begin to trust yourself again. Your intuition returns, your creativity flows, your presence becomes medicine, and you realize protecting your energy wasn't about pushing people away. It was about coming home to yourself. So I ask you now, who are you when no one is draining you? Who are you when your energy is yours again? Who are you when you stop leaking, stop bleeding, stop breaking for others? That version of you, the radiant, whole, untouchable version, is waiting. And it's not in some distant future. It's not after the next healing session. It's now. It begins the moment you say, I choose me. You are not a battery. You are a sun. You are not here to be consumed. You are here to illuminate. And the world needs your light, not your exhaustion. And now we arrive at the most sacred part of this journey, the resurrection of your energy, the rebirth of your sovereignty. Because once you've identified the energy vampires around you, and once you've made the courageous decision to protect your energy, something begins to awaken within you. A power you forgot you had. A clarity that pierces through every fog. A presence so strong that not even the most subtle manipulations can infiltrate it. This is the moment where you stop surviving your life and begin living it fully, unapologetically, and energetically whole. There's a strange stillness that comes after the storm of letting go. At first, it feels like emptiness. You may wonder, did I make a mistake? Was I too harsh? But give it time. That silence is not emptiness, it's space. Space for your spirit to expand. Space for truth to settle. Space for your roots to grow deeper into the soil of self-worth. And in that space, you begin to hear your soul again, not the noise of others' desires or demands, but the pure, untamed rhythm of your own essence. This is where discernment becomes your superpower. Because energy vampires don't always come with red flags. They often come disguised as soulmates, healers, leaders, or even spiritual influencers. They know the language of light, but their energy speaks a different truth. So stop listening only to words. Feel the frequency. Pay attention to how your body reacts around people. Does your chest tighten? Do you feel pressure in your head? What? Do you leave feeling heavy instead of light? The body never lies. It is the most ancient oracle we have. You'll notice that as your energy becomes more pure, more sovereign, you attract tests. People from the past may return, disguised as something new. Old patterns may dress themselves in new clothing. But don't be fooled. A vampire in a new outfit is still a vampire. This is when you must remember your why. Why did you choose to reclaim your energy? Why did you walk away from what once drained you? Why did you decide to stop betraying yourself? Anchor into that truth. Let it be your compass. And let's talk about the temptation to go back. Because it will come. You'll miss the familiarity, the comfort of old dynamics, the illusion of connection. But nostalgia is not a reason to regress. But just because something feels familiar doesn't mean it's right for your soul. Growth often feels like loneliness at first. But it's not loneliness, it's sacred solitude. It's the womb of your next evolution. And if you can sit in that space long enough, you will birth something miraculous, a new life, aligned with your truth. Now, let's talk about energetic hygiene. Just like you shower your body, you must cleanse your field daily, because we live in a world soaked in energetic exchanges. So how do you do that? You unplug, you ground, you return to nature, you sit in silence. You take salt baths, you meditate, you breathe consciously. You cut cords not just mentally, but emotionally. You visualize yourself surrounded by light. You call your energy back from every place you've ever left it. And you say, I reclaim all of me now. One of the most powerful tools I've learned is this simple phrase, that is not mine. Whenever you feel anxiety, guilt, overwhelm, pause. Ask yourself, is this mine? If not, return it. You don't have to carry what isn't yours. You don't have to transmute everyone's pain. You are not a dumping ground for unresolved trauma. You are a temple, and temples are sacred, not open 24/7 to anyone who knocks in crisis. You also need to stop explaining yourself. But one of the ways energy vampires hook you is by demanding explanations. Why are you pulling away? Why don't you have time for me anymore? Why are you being distant? But here's the truth. Your energy choices don't require a PowerPoint presentation. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to retreat without guilt. Silence is a boundary. And sometimes the most spiritual answer is no response. As you step deeper into your power, you will become magnetic. But that magnetism must be guarded. Because not everyone is drawn to your light because they love it. Some are drawn to it because they want to use it. You must learn to differentiate between those who celebrate you and those who seek to consume you, between those who pour into you and those who only appear when they're thirsty, between those who walk with you and those who ride your wave. And here's something most people won't tell you. Sometimes you were the energy vampire, not on purpose, but from your own wounds and from your own lack, from your own fear of being alone. Maybe you clung too tightly, expected too much, took more than you gave. That's okay. This is not about shame. It's about awareness, because once you see it, you can change it. You can become a generator, not a taker, a source, not a siphon. And that's the ultimate healing. Ask yourself now, am I feeding others from my overflow or from my essence? Because giving from your essence will always leave you depleted. But giving from your overflow that's divine, that's love in its purest form. That's when your giving becomes a blessing, not a burden. And to reach that overflow, you must first be selfish enough to fill yourself completely, to become so whole that your love is no longer a sacrifice, but a radiant offering. Let's go even further. True energetic sovereignty means you stop outsourcing your worth. You stop waiting for validation. You stop needing others to see your value in order to feel valuable. You know who you are. You feel it in your bones. And when you walk into a room, your energy precedes you like thunder before lightning. That's real power, not dominance, not control, but presence. A presence so strong it repels anything that does not match its frequency. You begin to speak less and radiate more. You begin to chase less and attract more. You begin to prove less and embody more. And in that embodiment, energy vampires cannot survive. Because your field becomes inhospitable to their tactics, your peace becomes a fortress, your clarity becomes armor, and your love becomes a sword that cuts through every illusion. This is the revolution, not outside, but within, a revolution of energy, and of boundaries, of truth, a revolution where you stop bleeding for people who wouldn't even give you a bandage. A revolution where you say, I am no longer available for relationships that cost me my soul. And when you say that with your whole being, the universe listens. And it sends you a new tribe, a new reality, a new self. So I leave you with this: your energy is your responsibility. But it is your currency. It is your compass. Treat it like gold. No, treat it like divinity. Because that's what it is. And remember, energy vampires only survive when you forget how powerful you are.